¿Cómo andan, amigos? Bienvenidos a un nuevo video. Probablemente se preguntarán por qué estoy lookeado de Volver al Futuro. Tenemos la camperita, la gorrita y el hoverboard. Este es un video especial. Si me conoces, sabes que soy muy fanático de Volver al Futuro, como muchas de las personas que miran mis videos. Y hace algunos días tuve la oportunidad de conocer a Jeffrey Weissman, quien supo interpretar a George McFly en Volver al Futuro 2 y 3. Una locura. Y por supuesto tiene papeles en otras películas y series. La cosa es que lo conocí, le pedí que firme mi tabla, impresionante, y le extendí una invitación para sencillamente ponernos a hablar de Volver al Futuro y un poquito sobre su carrera, sus historias, porque claro, yo he hablado de Volver al Futuro con amigos, pucha, no sé, cantidad tremenda de veces, pero nunca pude hablar de la película con uno de los actores. Dicho eso, ahí tienen el tema del video. ¿Quieren hablar un poco de Volver al Futuro? ¿Quieren escuchar historias contadas en primera persona por uno de los actores? ¿De repente nos enteraremos de alguna cosita que ocurrió detrás de cámara? La verdad, muero por tener esta charla y espero que les guste. Así que amigos, los invito y ya se la saben, acompáñenme. Alright friends, so here we are. As I said, Back to the Future, it's my very most favorite saga ever, and I spent hours probably talking about the movie with friends, with my wife. I have no idea how many times I watched the three movies, but I have never had a chance to talk about Back to the Future with someone from the cast, someone who was really in the stage, in the screen. So I feel blessed and thankful for having Jeffrey Weissman with us today.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Oh, your Spanish is better than my Spanish. Do you speak Spanish for real?
Un poquito.
Oh, wow. Perfect. Jeffrey, thank you so much for the opportunity. As I said, Back to the Future, my very favorite saga ever.
It's one of mine too.
Yeah, I guess. Look, I have my hat here.
Nice. Marty Jr.
Sorry?
Marty Jr.'s cap.
Yes. So before getting into Back to the Future, I want to run a quick introduction to allow yourself to present yourself, share with us some background, making sure the audience understands who we are talking with.
Sure. Me llamo Jeffrey Weissman. Gosh, I probably have been in films and TV shows that you've seen. I'm not a superstar in that I get recognized on the street right away, but once in a while people recognize me from Pale Rider, a Western I did with Clint Eastwood. In Back to the Future 2 and 3, I didn't have my own face. I wore prosthetic makeup to make me look like the original George McFly because Crispin Glover didn't choose to return to do the sequels. I've been recognized for some television shows, the Scarecrow Mrs. King, and Diagnosis Murder. I had guest star spots on those TV shows. So once in a while, people recognize me from those. I was Screech's guru on Saved by the Bell, The High Geek. Other films I've been in, Johnny Dangerously with Michael Keaton, the Twilight Zone movie episode remake of Nightmare at 30,000 Feet with John Lithgow. And on. I have about 80 credits on my IMDb. Look me up.
Yes, absolutely. And I will put some photos on the video to share your work with the audience. So, how did you get into Back to the Future? How everything started?
How did it all start?
Mm-hmm.
It started with I was playing Stanley Laurel, Gordo y Flaco, at Universal Studios in Hollywood. Here I'm pulling up a photo, hopefully you can see, of me as Stanley Laurel with my Oliver Hardy partner and Steven Spielberg. And I was working up there. The agent that got me the work as Stanley Laurel, he called me and asked me if I knew who Crispin Glover is. And I told him, sure, I know who he is. And he asked if I was the same height and same weight. And I said, no, I think he's heavier and taller and not such. But he let me know that they were looking for a photo double for him for a film coming up. And I asked if it was the Back to the Future sequels, because I knew that was in pre-production. He said he wasn't at liberty to say, but I went in and I met with the assistant directors, and who obviously my meeting went well. And then I went to casting and I auditioned for the casting directors, the scene from part 1 where George and Marty are hanging the laundry in George's backyard. And that went well. And then I started getting fitted for prosthetics, for makeup and wig and body cast, because there was some special effects that needed a body cast. And so then I did a screen test in the young George makeup. So the 3 makeups, let me see if I can find a photo. You can see here is me as 17-year-old George, because we had to recreate the fight with Biff and the enchantment under the sea dance with the kiss with Lorraine and all. And I did a screen test for Robert Zemeckis and Dean Cundey, and it was at that point that they saw that they could create the illusion that George from the first film, Crispin, was in the film. And I remember Zemeckis saying, "What do you think, Dean?" And Dean saying, "I think we have Crispin without the trouble." And I was at that time getting clued in that Crispin was not going to be coming back, and which kind of shocked me. I really loved the first film, the first Back to the Future, and I already had worked with Crispin on another film at the American Film Institute, and I was a big fan of his work. And I couldn't imagine how they were going to do a sequel without him. And it was actually my makeup designer, Ken Chase, who said, Crispin's out, you're going to be George. And I was like, that's impossible. That I don't see how they could do that. But they did. Obviously, Crispin was holding out for $1 million and script approval, and Spielberg and company, I don't think we're going to give him that. And so I ended up playing the role. I think I have a picture here I'll share with you of the three different makeups I wore. I mean, these are the 3 different makeups I wore. For part 2, I was 77-year-old George and 17-year-old George, and then 47-year-old George in part 3. So you can see that I never had my own face, that the makeup was based on Crispin's life mask. And when part 3 came out, Crispin called me and told me he never had an agreement for the use of his life mask in my makeups. So I gave him my photos and my stories so he could go get his settlement. He ended up with over $750,000 settlement for the use of his life mask in the makeups, and other footage, close-ups of his work mixed with my work.
And how many hours did you spend, I don't know, getting all the prosthetics and the makeup?
It took pretty much a minimum of 3.5, usually 4 hours a day to apply any of the makeups. And then another hour at the end of the day to take it off. I have something that you might want to see here, if I can bring it up here.
Of course, I want to see everything you have.
It's called Makeup. Let's see if I can get it to play here. Yeah, you want to bring that up, and I'll get it to play maybe.
Yeah.
You see, here I am in the makeup chair, being glued in. I would, if I needed to be on the set by 9 a.m., any of us would have to be in the makeup chair by 4 a.m. and we'd be glued in. You can see Nancy Vasta and Sonny Berman, the late great Sonny Berman, and behind in the next chair, Leah is being worked on by Mike Mills and Kenny Myers. And really great top-notch makeup artists. Mike Myers was the foreman on Beetlejuice. I mean, their credits are really astounding. And we had Marvin Westmore of the very famous Westmore family, Zoltan and his wife, who got the Academy Award for Mask, working on all of us. If say Tom, Mike, Leah, and I all needed to be in aged makeup, all these fantastic makeup artists would come in. We'd have several trailers working, and we'd all be getting glued in. And then after a couple hours, they'd let me take a break to stretch, go have a breakfast burrito or something, and for 20 minutes or half an hour, and then come back and then get painted and the wig applied. And in just a minute, we'll transition here from the old age makeup to the young age makeup. This is footage that was cut from the making of Back to the Future Part 2 because they were trying to keep me a secret, basically, I think.
Look at that. Oh my gosh, man. This is simply amazing, man. Wow. Thank you for sharing. So
Sure.
I have a lot of more questions now. So let me step back. So you said that you like Back to the Future 1.
Yeah.
Did you ever thought that you were going to be part of Back to the Future 2 or 3, or did you try to get in the movie, or was it like a surprise when you got that call?
Oh, it was a total fluke, total surprise. In 1985, I was co-starring in Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood, and I don't know if you're sharing this or not, but I'm up on a billboard. I climbed up on a billboard on Sunset Boulevard because I was so proud to be co-starring in Clint Eastwood's return to Westerns. So in 1985, I was co-starring with Clint Eastwood in his return to Westerns, Pale Rider. And in this photograph, I've climbed up on the top of a business on Sunset Boulevard on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood and had my girlfriend take a picture of me up on the billboard. I was so proud. I wanted to see what the competition was. And so I went and saw Back to the Future. I was already a fan of Mike Fox from Family Ties and Chris Lloyd from Buckaroo Banzai and other films he was in, and of course, Taxi. And then I had been cast in a film with Tom Cruise and Leah Thompson called All the Right Moves, and my part had been written out just before they went to shoot. So I was familiar with Leah. And I thought they were all doing a great job. And then I had done a film with Crispin Glover at the American Film Institute, and I thought he was fantastic in Back to the Future. And I liked his work on the film I did with him at the American Film Institute. So we exchanged phone numbers, and I even called him up to congratulate him on his great work in Back to the Future. And, it never occurred to me that I would ever, be considered for a role or taking over a role in Back to the Future at the time in 85. And then in 88, when I was up for being a photo double, I didn't think I would actually even be on screen. Maybe they needed George in two places at the same time. I had all sorts of things going through my head. But then I started seeing in the newspaper, in the Hollywood Reporter and the Variety, that Crispin would not be returning, that he had a conflict with another film schedule. and I called him up and I said, "What's going on?" And so he didn't call me until it was time to sue, after Part 3 came out. So a long way to answer your question basically is no. I had no idea that I would be a part of one of the top 10 trilogies of all time. And I'm very thankful. At the time, it was very hard for me because when it came out that I helped Crispin with my photos and my stories, there was some evidence that I had been blacklisted at Universal and elsewhere. And I just, went into a tailspin. My life kind of turned upside down. But I got back on track and have been working mostly in independent films since Back to the Future. Television spots, like I mentioned, the Screech's Guru on Saved by the Bell is very popular.
There we go.
Yeah, it's not a great quality photo, but it is me giving Screech in this fantasy episode called Rockumentary advice on how to find happiness. And that advice is to marry a cheerleader and move to the beach.
Nice. Nice advice. And so you got this call, you got very excited about being part of Back to the Future. And after hearing that you dealt with 3-4 hours getting makeup and prosthetics, what was the most, I don't know, challenging scene on Back to the Future? Because I'm honestly thinking I'm seeing you upside down.
Yeah.
as George McFly. Was it? How does that work? Were you, I don't know, laying for hours? I don't know. Tell us about it.
I was hung upside down. They put it. There's kind of a long story about it. They had trouble with Crispin on the first film, and he would sometimes overshoot or undershoot his marks on the floor for camera, for focus and framing. So when the Bobs were writing the sequel, the Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, they said, well, let's have George on this contraption, an ortholev of the future. His back has gone out, and they put him on a track that went from outside the front door to through the television room and into the kitchen. And that way they could control his moves, and he would never be out of focus and out of frame, because we'll be in control. And I ended up taking that kind of torture of hanging upside down. Yeah, people often ask, were you really hanging upside down? Well, yes. I was hanging upside down for over a 2-week period, at least 6 days. And they didn't like getting me down from the it took a long time to get me out of the device. So Don Elliott, my handler from Industrial Light and Magic, he built this platform on top of a ladder, and at the end of a take he would say, Jeffrey, do a sit-up, and I'd do a sit-up and slide this sort of table ladder underneath me, and I'd lean back and be able to take my break this way, twirling my thumbs as everyone go off the set and have a coffee. So it was, I was I want to correct, there are a lot of urban legends out there, people who say that, oh, they hung the actor upside down because it was a different actor and they wanted to obscure that it wasn't. And that's not the case at all. It was because Crispin would miss his camera marks.
Wow. Honestly, never heard this part of the story.
Well, there you have it. And then there was also a bit that was cut from the film where George actually rotated his axis for pizza. As you can see here, Lorraine is kissing George and helping him work his controller on his ortholev. So I'm spinning. When the pizza comes out, is hydrated in 4 seconds. Yeah. Lorraine says, George, rotate your axis for dinner. It's bad for your digestion to eat upside down. and I do my Crispin tribute and go, okay, 4, and little golf swing there. And you can actually still see that scene in the bonus material. It's called Pizza, of all things.
Art, will you rotate your axis? It's not good for your digestion to eat while you're inverted.
Okay, dear. 4.
You come. Okay.
So in
There you are.
here you see me. I mentioned the body cast that I was fitted for. Once I was put into this body cast, then my wardrobe was put on over it, and out of the back of the body cast, I would hook up to a pipe that went through the set, and there was a wheel on the other side of the set that when I on cue spun for pizza, a teamster would spin me, turn me around, and so it was pretty complicated. In the background there is Joanna Johnston, who was our wardrobe designer. She won the Academy Award for the wardrobe on Lincoln. Really top-notch people. I really enjoyed being on the set because Zemeckis put together really a fantastic crew and, of course, a fantastic cast. And to be a part of it, working on it, was just a thrill for me. It was all very hard work. We had, Michael J. Fox on nights and weekends because he was shooting the last season of Family Ties during the day, and so our time with Michael was kind of limited to just nights and weekends. Here, this picture, I think, is probably at 4 a.m. We're all extremely tired, but also very excited to be working on this. I was like, Mike, when do you sleep? And he said, in the limo in between the studios, between Paramount and Universal.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing all these backstage photos and material. How was the? I think I already got the answer, but want to ask the general atmosphere on set around this not having Crispin. I'm assuming, based on what you said, that the relationship with the rest of the cast was awesome.
At first, it was very uncomfortable.
But with you personally, or generally, due to his departure?
I think for the cast and myself. The first scenes we did were the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and one of the first people that I came face to face with was Michael J. Fox. He saw me in the young George makeup, and he said, "Oh, Crispin's not going to like this." I was like, "Oh boy." Because I had called Crispin and he hadn't called me back. And Leah, I know, was uncomfortable. She and Crispin were very tight. They had worked many months before they ever gotten to shooting the first 7 weeks with Eric Stoltz and then again with Michael J. Fox. And she was, as Billy Zane said, I think rather taken with Crispin. And so I was at first kind of this outsider stepping in as a placeholder filler for him. But by the end of the week, they resigned themselves to this was the situation. And by the end of the week, I was hanging out with Mike in his trailer, sharing stories, and he was very, very friendly. Michael, anyone who knows Michael knows that he's very grounded. He's very funny. In spite of the ravages of Parkinson's on his body, he's still there. He's still sharp as a tack and funny as can be. He's just a delightful man. We have had these 40-year cast reunions recently, and just a few weeks ago, I got to see Chris and Mike and get a snap with them at the Dallas Fan Expo. It's like getting together with a family, like a family reunion, because you work so hard together, and you gain respect for each other when you're working, and then throughout the years you get to watch each other age.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's a very wonderful blessing for me to have been able to help keep the trilogy somewhat seamless, help Crispin get his, I think, morally justified payment for use of his likeness in my makeups, and then I'm included in these kind of cast family reunions every so often, and I get a little bit of residual, every year, which helps, because being a character actor is no way to make a living. It's a very hard. I raised a family, luckily acting. The majority of that was not from my film and television work, but more from my live work. Like I mentioned, I played Stanley Laurel, Gordo y Flaco at Universal Studios in Hollywood. I also played Charlie Chaplin and Groucho Marx. And for 15 years, being full-time playing those characters kind of paid the bills,
Yeah.
And it's also the type of work that has taken me around the world. I've been on cruise lines with my magic show. I've been on promotional tours for Universal for their different theme parks. I also directed the Blues Brothers show and the doo-wop show for Universal Osaka, for Universal International, for that $1 billion park when it opened in 2001, I think it was.
Wow. And going back to, because you said you called Crispin and he never called you back. Did he ever called you back? How is that? Do you have any kind of relationship with him today?
Yeah,
Is everything okay?
I called him when I was up for being his photo double and said, say a good word for me. And he didn't call me back until after Part 3 came out. And he told me his sad stories about how he felt abused and how he wasn't going to get much money for the close-ups that they cut in with my work as young George. And then when he told me that he had never made an arrangement for his life mask to be used in my makeups, that's when I said, that's immoral. That's not right. And I gave him my photos and stories. So he got his settlement, and then he didn't call. And I left him a message, thinking, well, maybe you want to take me to dinner or something for helping you. And the only time he answered after that was when I was doing an imitation of him on his answering machine. His outgoing message is, hello. And I imitated that. I said, hello. And he picked up laughing, thinking I was another friend. And when he found out it was me, he kind of went choked up and said, And I said, Crispin, you want to, debrief? You want to take me out for a drink or something? And he said, yeah, I'll call you back. And so that was in, 1993 or 94. And he hasn't called back since. And in more recent years, he kind of criticizes what I did. If I had done the role, I would have made other choices. I said, Crispin, you could have done the role.
Right.
But nonetheless, and the role of Seamus in Part 3 was meant for Crispin. And they didn't give it to me because my face wouldn't have been recognized as a McFly from previous films. So as if Mike didn't have enough to do, they gave it to Mike.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a weird, stuck between a rock and a hard place for the producers. It was a difficult place, I'm sure, for Crispin, and it was a difficult place for me. So the thing is, now I wish that Bob Gale and Crispin have this animosity towards each other, and if they would just apologize or agree to disagree, but get together for the fans, for Mike's charity. I think they could raise a great deal of money for Mike's charity if they did some event where maybe it'll happen this year. There's some secrets. There's some things coming this year for the 40th anniversary that are going to be very big, and who knows who's going to turn up at those.
Oh my gosh. So for the people watching at this video, where should we look for updates about this potential event?
Oh, well, Stephen Clark is the webmaster for backtothefuture.com or BTTF.com. And there is an events page that keeps you up to date on where the musical is playing, where the symphony is playing the music of, or accompanying screenings of the film. Also updates on what fan conventions any of the cast are doing. So I would say check out bttf.com or backtothefuture.com. Also, there's a fundraiser fan celebration for Part 3, where they shot it up near Sonora in Jamestown. And that one is called Return to Hill Valley, and that's towards the end of September. That'll be featuring Dean Cundy, Burton Gilliam, who is in Part 3 as the gun salesman. There's going to be various crew members, other cast members. I think Tom's stunt double will be there. It's very fun because you get to ride, I believe, the number 3, the train that Marty and Doc hold up. That engine, that steam engine, just went through its $1 million required every 15-year cleaning. They take it completely apart and put it back together, and it costs $1 million. That's just about to be re-debuted, and just in time for that event. So there's a lot of very great fan appreciation events. There was one just last Saturday at Whittier High School, where we shot the parking lot scenes, the fight with Biff and all. That was a fundraiser for the high school for their trophy case. And a lot of Back to the Future fans came out for that. And there was a lot of Back to the Future merchandise and surprises, I think raffles and auctions. So just keep an ear out. There's quite a few Facebook and social network Back to the Future sites that will keep you updated. And of course, you, Damien, you'll probably find out about stuff you can share on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very exciting. Do you remember any, I don't know, I would like to hear a funny story from back in the days when you were filming, and probably a bad memory, something like didn't went as well as
you want the
expected.
bad and the good.
Yes.
Yes. Well, doing the cast reunions, I hear stories quite a bit. And one that always struck me as very interesting was that when Christopher Lloyd was finished with Taxi, the television series he was on for 5 years or more, he was done with Hollywood. He wanted to do stage. He was a very well-trained stage actor. And he was set to do a show in New York with Colleen Dewhurst, very wonderful, famous actress. And Universal had sent him the Back to the Future script. He threw it in the garbage. And I only want to do stage, is what he said. And while they were in rehearsal, Colleen Dewhurst apparently got ill, and the show was postponed a month. And then it got postponed another month because she wasn't getting better. And he was like, oh my God, how am I going to pay the bills? And his girlfriend at the time, who I believe later became his wife, had taken that script out of the garbage and put it in front of him. And he was like, what's this? And that's how he came to read for Doc Brown. And in the meantime, they were looking at other actors. I knew John Lithgow from working with him on Twilight Zone movie. They were looking at him for Doc Brown, but John was taking a year off to be with the kids. I remember I had another project that I had offered to John for consideration, and he said, I'm taking a year off, Jeffrey. Thank you very much. Just to be with the kids. They were looking at Dudley Moore and Bill Cosby and a lot of different actors who were popular at the time for Doc Brown. I think their favorite was Jeff Goldblum. So Jeff Goldblum and Eric Stoltz would have been an interesting Doc and Marty relationship, probably a completely different tone film. I know that if you look at Michael Clasterin's book, he has the casting sheets for George McFly. One of the actors who auditioned for George was Johnny Depp.
Oh, wow.
That would have been an interesting casting. So you never know how Hollywood would work. And then another story I heard just recently from Clyde Byron, who was assistant cameraman. He said that I knew that Part 2 and Part 3 were originally one film under the title Paradox. I have my script. It's about that thick.
Oh,
And
you
then
have it with you?
I have it in my files, yeah. And then the rewrites are about that thick too. Because I came in the 11th hour, at the last possible moment, tried to work out a contract agreement with Crispin until they could not, and then I was George. So I got probably the most up-to-date rewrites for when I started working in spring of '88, I think it was. Or was it fall? Oh gosh, I'll go back and look at the dates. But nonetheless,
no, it's okay.
They'd send me all the rewrites, and I'd put them into my script. And so Part 2 and Part 3 was called Paradox, and it was a $40 million budget in 1988. And the production kept asking for more money from the studio. Oh, this actor needs more money. This set needs more money. These effects need more money. And the studio was like, hold on, this is not going to work. We're going to pull the plug if you keep asking us for more money. And apparently the production team, Marshall Kennedy, Spielberg, Gale, and Zemeckis all said, well, listen, you give us $1 more million and we'll deliver two films, Part 2 and Part 3. And so instead of a very long Part 2, it became Part 2 and Part 3, two separate movies.
Nice. Oh,
those are fun. Now for horror, oh dear, in this shot where I'm being strapped into the body cast and spun upside down with my costume on, there was one take where I was turned upside down and I hadn't caught my breath. And this body cast is, see me being cinched in, and it was rather tight, and I hadn't taken a full breath, so my lungs were not full. And when I was spun upside down, I couldn't catch my breath. And Zemeckis, here you can see with the VistaVision camera that splits the film inside so Michael can play the 3 different roles at the dinner table. I couldn't breathe, and I have claustrophobia. So everything was triggered, and my costume is on outside of the body cast. So I'm flailing. I'm trying to rip the costume off. And I hear Zemeckis say, "Cut, Jeffrey, what's wrong?" I said, "I can't breathe." And they turned me up and got me out of the costume and got me out of the body cast. And I needed to walk around to get it out of my system. And I figured it must have cost $50,000 a minute, for this production. And I had to hold up production for 5 minutes while I composed.
Oh, wow. I never thought on the amount of work behind this specific scene, having you upside down.
Very, very long hours. Once again, part of it was because we only had Michael for weekends and nights mostly. And also every time there was a costume makeup character change, it generally took 3 hours for the makeup to be changed, the costume to be changed, and the hair to be changed. So in this photo, you see this camera is what spliced the film inside of it, the VistaVision, run by the Tondro computer program on the tracking. So everything had to be very precise. Once we set our blocking of the passing of the iced tea, we had to stick to that. And you can see Bobby Bennett sitting at the kitchen table. That's Mike's stand-in. On the other side is Kevin Holloway, who's Mike's photo double. And then Mike would be probably in this shot playing Marty Sr., but the camera's obscuring him. And then you see Leah back there in her underwear. I shouldn't be showing you certain picture. So it was a very complicated, very long process. During that scene shoot in particular, it would take us. I remember my time card said in 1 week I had a 19-hour day, a 21-hour day, and a 26-hour long day.
Wow.
So here is something that was cut from the film. You remember "Fruit, Please," and the big thing for fruit would come down
from the ceiling. Yeah.
And at one point, Lorraine says to Marlene, Micah's Marlene, "Give your granddad a piece of fruit," and she gives me a banana. And I had this bit that I just improvised where I tried eating a banana upside down, but the peel kept slapping me in the face. And I remember Zemeckis saying that was very funny, but he didn't keep it in. So here's a very rare photo outtake from the film. I have these. If anyone is a fan or has a Back to the Future fan in their life, and they want to get a Christmas present or something, a signed autographed photo, you can go to my website and write me from it. And go to my shop. I have samples of the photos available, or merchandise, little action figures, or I'm trying to get some custom-made action figures, but I also have the Pizza Hut foils. So you can.
I love it.
A Pizza Hut foil.
Yeah, and I'm gonna share the website right here. But it's jeffreyweissman.com, right?
That's right.
Yes, excellent.
And I have a lot of. I posted a lot of stories from my other projects, from Twilight Zone movie or Pale Rider. I have very detailed narratives along with photos that I've posted because people love that stuff.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm gonna order a few things for my collection, for sure.
That's quite a collection you have back there, I see.
Oh yeah, man! And from Back to the Future. So a few weeks back, I don't have the video here, but anyway, I bought the Delorean. I think it's a 1/6.
1/6 scale, the big one that everyone wants. Nice.
The big one, yes, and I love it. It's sitting in my living room right now because I don't have room here. Good thing is that my wife also loves Back to the Future, so it's so cool with her.
I was kind of discovered by the DeLorean owners. I was brought out of obscurity in early 2000 and started doing the DeLorean car shows as a guest. And I can't really, because of my claustrophobia, really ride in the DeLoreans with the gull-wing door shut. I feel like I'm trapped. Unless I'm driving, then I have my attention on something. But I have ridden in some very unusual DeLoreans. There's a stretch limousine DeLorean, and then there's the monster truck DeLorean.
Oh my gosh, I never saw this before.
When that thing rides, I took for a ride around the parking lot in that, and it's a white knuckler. It's
so it really works. It's not just a makeup. It really. Oh wow.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, and this is probably from the Chicago show or maybe earlier, and back then, I have to say it, just 15, 20 years ago, they already had electric DeLoreans that owners had figured out how to do the wiring.
Hold on. What? Electric DeLoreans? When?
They were on display at the car shows. They had every kind of category: the custom DeLoreans, that monster truck one, the stretch limousine where someone had cut 3 DeLoreans and made a stretch limo. One was pimped out. It was really fun stuff. The purists, only want their DeLorean very clean, low mileage. During the pandemic, a collector in Germany asked me to go check out a DeLorean for sale in Oakland. I went and saw it, and it was a dealer painted green DeLorean. It was very cool, and he ended up buying it. They're a very tight community, the DeLorean owners, and when I started doing events, there were maybe, I don't know, 5, 10 DeLorean time machines. Now I think there's something like over 1,000 DeLorean time machines out there. People converting their DeLoreans into time machines because they celebrate the movies, and sometimes they make a little money for doing kids' birthday parties that need a DeLorean. And I played Doc. I played Doc Brown, at events because I need work, and it's work.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been there as well. Didn't know that you played Doc Brown too.
Here's a picture of the tiniest Doc Brown.
Oh, look at that. And the time machine in the background. Oh, wow. Would you have a DeLorean?
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I get claustrophobic in them.
Yeah. No, but I mean, if let's say it's your DeLorean, you're going to be the main. Even driving, you get claustrophobia?
I did okay driving it. I did
Okay.
okay. So I also really enjoy the fans and their cosplayers. I found the only old 2015 George cosplay came from Denmark, and his name is Dexter, and his father Thomas is here as the Ortholev. In this picture,
That's beautiful.
Dex is probably a year old. He was only upside down for 10 seconds, so there was no harm of Dexter in this. I think he's probably about 10 years. This is probably about 10 years old now. But that is the only old George cosplay I think I've ever seen.
Wow. Wow.
And-
Yeah, there's a Back to the Future fan community out there. It's huge everywhere.
Oh yes, it is. It's fantastic. I do fundraisers regularly for Volver al Futuro, Argentina, the French Team Fox group. Mitch Anthony brings me into those different fundraisery drives. I'll autograph pictures for them to auction off. The Japanese, I love it. The first event I did for the Japanese Team Fox group, we did a Zoom during the pandemic, and if you look, every one of the Japanese fans has dressed as one of the characters.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so did I. It's just terrific.
Wow, look at the Doc Brown. Oh man, now I feel bad. I should do something like this.
There's a girl as Spike. There's
Yeah. Leah. Wow, I love it. For example, talking about myself, and I'm not lying. I think that I saw the 3 movies probably, let's say, 15 times. Right? Maybe a little more. And honestly, and if I walk in the living room now and Back to the Future is playing, I would sit and watch it again. What about you? Is it a movie that you enjoy watching, or does it feel different? Because of course, I'm just a simple guy watching a movie. You are the actor who played the movie.
I'll watch it if it's on. Yes, these are the German cosplayers I met at the London Film and Comic Con a few years back.
Look at that.
Great Biff, German, and actually everyone very sweet. A lot of these folks I've stayed friends with. I especially loved it when it came out in HD, in high definition. I was asked to be a celebrity guest with the DeLorean time machine from Part 3 when Heritage Auctions was going to auction it off before it was purchased by the Shays up in New England for their Back to the Future Museum collection. Bill and Pat Shay. Anyway, at the Monterey Car Show, the Esprit de Corps, I was celebrity guest with the DeLorean time machine from Part 3, and then later on at Comic-Con in San Diego with Billy Zane one day and Claudia Wells another day. And at the car show in Monterey, they had on monitors Part 1 and 2 and 3 that had just come out in high definition. And when I looked at the film, my jaw dropped because it was like looking at a brand new movie because of the definition. You could actually see the details beautifully as opposed to, the kind of analog that it came out in 89 in. So for me, it was like rediscovering the films, and it was very enjoyable. I'm always hopeful that they will put in, do another cut and put back in the rotating for pizza or the banana eating thing or some of the things I improvise. Like when you see George at the front door when I'm making my first entrance.
You mean when you're upside down?
Yeah, when I'm upside down,
mm-hmm.
Where my head was, Marlene answers the door. And they put Michael as Marlene in these orange hot pants and stuffed them a little to give her a butt. And my head was about butt level. And so I improvised. I thought it made her butt look like an orange. Like a pumpkin. So I improvised the line, "How's Granddad's little pumpkin?"
How's Granddad's little pumpkin?
How did you do that? How did you do that?
Oh, out on the golf course.
Now, I don't know what that line is when they dubbed me in Spanish. Did it say that? Do you recall?
Oh man, no, I don't know. I don't remember, and I don't want to lie, but I'm gonna cut that scene and I'm gonna put it on this video because I don't remember exactly what it says.
¿Qué le pasa al abuelo?
Ay, se lastimó la espalda otra vez.
¿Cómo está la consentida del abuelo?
¿Cómo logras eso? ¿Cómo logra eso?
En el campo de golf.
Well, I did a show right after the pandemic called StarCon in Italy. And when I explained that, I improvised "How's Granddad's little pumpkin," they all shook their heads and said, "No, that's not what you said." I said, "What do you mean?" And they, in Italian, had dubbed it "How's Granddad's little sparrow," or pigeon or something. I don't know. But it killed the joke. It was like all about Marlene's hot pants making her butt look like a pumpkin.
That's what happens with translations, right? When you translate, you break the joke or the meaning of the sentence. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it happens the same thing, but it's a
When
good
you
story.
when you figure it out, please let me know what you find out.
I will. Actually, I'll send you I'll let you know later today for sure.
Thank you.
So, and how is your relationship with the cast today? With Leah, with Michael?
It's okay. I am embraced by pretty much everyone. We started doing cast reunions not only for the fan cons, but if a theater was showing the trilogy, they'd bring in some of us for Q&As. The first time I met Chris Lloyd while we were shooting. We weren't in any scenes together, and I came out to meet him. My makeup man introduced us, but it was basically hello and lots of silence. Chris is very quiet, especially if he doesn't know you. But it was at the Beverly Cinema. Oh gosh, I'm not sure what year this was, 2005. Chris and I were there early, and we were put in the projectionists booth together for about 40 minutes. And that's where I finally got to chatting with him and learned a lot about him. And we became friends. We as you know, this year for the 40th anniversary, have done quite a few reunions. This one is probably from the first large Back to the Future cast reunion we did in 2008 in Hollywood. And there were actually about 25 of the cast and crew at the Hollywood show. Wow. But and Michael was not advertised as being part of it. He showed up because he was on a book tour in Los Angeles, and he stopped by on Sunday. And so as soon as he arrived, the 6 of us, as you can see here, Mark holding his doggy, his precious poodle, Francis, Leah, Chris, Claudia, James, and I all got to spend about a good quality 30 minutes with Mike. And I'm pretty sure the first time any of us had seen how the Parkinson's was affecting Mike, because every once in a while, rather, he'd go up on his toes and have to walk away because he was in pain. And we looked at each other with tears in our eyes because it was very, very hard for us to see him suffering. And the 1,500 fans that were there for this reunion, as soon as we were done meeting with Mike, we said, "Mike, we're going to go to lunch." And he was like, "What?" And we left him to the screaming crowds. And he was like, "No!" So it was a very funny moment. And at the same time, it was a very bittersweet time. Like I mentioned, this year, being the 40th anniversary, we've done quite a few reunions. I'm thinking there was New Orleans was the first time seeing Mike since London Film and Comic Con in 2015, and I got to congratulate him as he was coming off his panel for getting the the Medal of Freedom presented by President Biden, and he grabbed me from his wheelchair. He grabbed me and said, "I feel like I'm a kid again. I want to go out to the parking lot and dance and drink a beer." And it was just terrific.
Wow.
And
Wow.
once again, it's always a treat to get together with Mike and the rest of the cast, and just to cherish the work we did and to cherish our lives. James Tolkien, who played Principal Strickland, he's such a good friend, and it was just his birthday. James just turned, I believe, 94. And
how old is he today?
I believe 94.
Oh, today is 94. Okay.
And while we were in, I think it was Dallas, a guy in his wheelchair came zooming by, playing the assassin from the alternate 1988, and in his wheelchair, speeding by James, was like, "Hey, Strickland," doing the machine gun thing. And James got it. He thought it was hilarious. It's, seeing the fans embrace the cast members and, just love the seeing them all. I love the films too. So for me, it's a thrill to see the cast members. It's a thrill for me to see the cosplayers.
And you're part of this of this story, man. You're part of the story. I always say, man, I believe Back to the Future, it will never die. Will never die.
It keeps getting discovered by new fans, new generations, and it's really wonderful. And of course, the studio keeps upgrading, upscaling, 4K. God knows what they're 3D next, I suppose. Become very good friends with these other cast members that I had no scenes. I did have a scene with Harry Waters Jr. When we reshot the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, but we become friends. In 2015, I produced a fundraiser cruise, the Back to the Future cruise to end Parkinson's. And Harry was the singer in the band, Mr. Fusion, I put together with Don Full, Mayor Goldie Wilson as my bass player. I play guitar. And Mark McClure, who played Dave McFly, was my drummer. Hoping to do that again, because the fans that got to go on that cruise will never forget it. It was really a great time.
Yeah, for sure. And I will be looking forward to get updates about that. You might see me there.
Okay.
Tell me, favorite part of the movie, not as an actor, you watching the movies. Favorite part of the movie, favorite movie of the three.
In New Orleans at the cast reunion, first one we did this year, I believe one of the super fans went around asking each one of the cast, "What's your favorite part? 1, 2, or 3?" I believe Tom, Chris, and Mike all said part 3. Leah said part 2. I said part 1. Part 1 was really my favorite. There was so much wonderful comedy in it. I just adore what Leah does in it when she's got Marty Calvin Klein in her bedroom, and she has this giddy moment with her hope chest or something like that, and she just has her whole body is affected by this, having this boy in her room is so terrific. And then again in the car when she drinks the alcohol and smokes, and Marty as Mike as Marty just freaks out. There's so much great comedy. Christopher Lloyd's takes, who's the vice president, Jerry Lewis? There's so many wonderful things that the writers put into it. I really feel that part 1 is just so solid and so enjoyable that I could watch it over and over. The first time I saw part 2, I was in New York riding in the Macy's parade for Universal. So I got to see it in the theater with my friends. And it was exciting for me to see my co-star billing and to see my work. Unfortunately, most of it was cut, but nonetheless, to be a part of such a huge film, that was exciting. But the part 2 just went so wildly back and forth and crazy was hard for me to keep up. Now I get it all since I've seen it so many times. And I love Westerns. I love Part 3, but ultimately Part 1 is my favorite.
I'm 100% with you, man. Part 1 is, to me, it's Part 1. I mean, that movie came with a lot of new stuff, right? Actually, I'm always wondering, because some of the stuff in the saga, right? Back in the 80s, I don't think we had flat TVs, right? Because I'm always wondering, for example, when they're in the future, Part 2, they were opening the doors with fingerprints, watching a flat TVs, hydrating food, things that we started to really do in our life. I don't know, in the 2000s. What am I badly wrong?
No, there was a lot of things that were predictive. I just wanted to share this great cosplayer I recently saw in the south of France. The set, the 2015 McFly home, you don't get to see a fraction. You only see a little bit of the wonderful devices that are in the kitchen, in the living room, in the TV room. The art direction and Edward Ayeth, the designer of many of the futuristic props, really were very, very detailed. It was art directed within an inch of its life, and I was constantly fascinated by these futuristic items. One of the things that, of course, everyone wants is the hoverboard. And the only time that I've gotten to ride on a hoverboard was for one of the fundraisers. We're Going Back. I think it was the second one of We're Going Back. The original stunt coordinator came out to Fillmore in California with 2 cranes with 2 hoverboards on wires. And he would ride you up and down this field. And if you had a friend who was good at Photoshop, they could erase the wires. Here I am hoverboarding, every Back to the Future fan's dream. That's
so the crane we see in the back, it's really holding the hover?
Yeah, the crane has wires hanging from it. My friend just erased the wires. You can't see the wires in the photo. But everyone wants the hoverboard. Where's my hoverboard? Where's the flying cars? There were flying cars back in the 1950s. There were a couple different designs. You can look them up, Google it, flying cars. There were boat cars. I remember seeing one that was a flying boat car in the museum in San Diego, the car museum that burned down, unfortunately, with that boat car in it. But like the Jetsons, everyone wants to see the flying cars. We've got now self-driving cars. I took my first ride in one of those Tesla trucks, whatever they call it, and my friend.
What do you think?
My friend never touched the pedals or the steering wheel.
Did you like it?
It drove itself. It parked itself in a tight parking. I didn't like it at all. It took me a while to get used to it. When we were shooting the scene where Marty gets fired and Flea, the bass player from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, came on, I had DJ'd. Music is a big part of my life, and I've DJ'd at clubs and parties and radio shows over the years. And when Flea came on the set, I was like, "Hey, Blackie Dammit used to come to my club all the time." That was Anthony, the lead singer of the Chili Peppers' dad. And so Flea and I hit it off very quickly. And Flea is an electric kind of personality. He's like Mike. Everyone is up. So you had both Mike Fox and Flea bringing the set up energy-wise, and it was really wonderful fun. And that's one of the cherished memories I have working in the 2015 McFly household, was having these great talents on set, watching Zemeckis solve problems, technical things that would come up with effects that would go south, and he would figure out how to get them done. It was really brilliant to be a part of the shoot and a part of the cast and the reunions. I'm very blessed for that.
Wow. Yes, I'm pretty sure you are. Okay, my friend, I really want to be respectful with the time. I feel I would love to spend another 2 hours, but I want to be respectful with your time. Any message for whoever is watching at this video with acting inspirations, what to do, how to get in, I don't know, whatever you want to share with them.
Yeah, everyone, has dreams that I meet who are young actors who want to come to Hollywood and make it or whatever. That if you have to do it, if you have to act, if it's in your blood, get the training. Once you get good quality training, then the casting directors and other directors and producers know you're taking your craft seriously. It's a never-ending study. It's never-ending struggle. And get something practical, either medical, musical, a craft, a trade. Get something practical that you can make a living at, because don't count on acting to be able to make a living. But if you have to do it, by all means do it, but protect yourself. Get mentored by accomplished actors. You can contact me through my website. I teach, I coach, I mentor. The ones that I see turn their overnight success, which generally takes 20 years, you can cut that in half by being smart and focused, keeping a journal for your business, keeping a journal for your creative. Don't let people take advantage of you. Don't shortchange yourself and do things for free. And follow your heart and be truthful and listen. Take improv, take dance, sing, do all the things that will make you your tools that you have in your toolbox ready to work at any given moment. So you're on your toes, and because when opportunity knocks, if you're not ready, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. That's the old saying, opportunity meeting talent is the key to success. And you can't get doors open unless you're taking yourself seriously and an agent sees on your resume that you've got some good training. Once again, if you're young, having family that support you is key. Having a support center, putting a team together. You need to be able to be a team player. Ego, even though it's a very personal business, you're putting your vulnerability and your emotions on the line. It's a very impersonal business. You get rejected all the time and you can't take it personally. I've seen actors and actresses destroyed because of rejection. And it's a shame because they often are very talented, but they never learn to separate that. I've screen tested for the leads in many different films, and it's devastating, yes, when you don't get it, but it's a learning experience. You turn it around. If also you have anxiety or stage fright, butterflies, that's just because you care. Reframe things. Oh, I'm sick, I'm scared. No, just say, I feel this because I care about what I'm doing. And that will change your energy into a more positive place, and you'll be able to access the creative universe. So it's a lot of work. It never ends. And the payments are things like this, where I get to be sharing my stories and meeting wonderful people like you, Damien, and mucho gusto.
No, it was all my pleasure, honor, and honestly, Jeffrey, as I said, Back to the Future is my very most favorite saga. Actually, I don't know why I didn't show you this, but check this out. Check what I have here.
Hey, nice jacket.
I have I don't know, plenty of videos and because I really use this jacket. It's not just decoration. I really use this jacket in cold places, and I never ever thought that I was going to have the opportunity to talk with someone from the cast. So
if you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
I can't thank you enough, honestly, because I don't know if we will have 100, 1,000 of million viewers watching at this video, but what this moment means to me, man, it's just a lot. So thank you so much for being and
thank
let me
you for
put this
having
word
me
out
on.
there.
And you know, I'm growing this mustache because I've been playing Mark Twain. Get that?
Oh,
hair put up, and I played Mark Twain at live events and short films and so on and so forth. And I played Mark Twain in a PBS movie that's streaming on their site called Dreamland, Mark Twain's Adventures in Jerusalem, I believe. And I also, I still work. I played Professor Moriarty in a new Sherlock Holmes story called Sherlock Holmes and the True Believer. That's a fundraiser movie. I have a support role in a feature streaming now called No Address, which 50% of the profits of the movie are going to help the homeless. So you can keep up with me on the events page on my website. And remember, you can keep up with me on my Instagram. That's at Jeffrey J. Weissman. On my X is at Jeff with one F Weissman. On Facebook, my professional actor page is Jeffrey Weissman Actor. And once again, on my website, on the events page, just stay in touch, and I'll see you in the future.
Or in the past.
My
friend, thank you so much. Oh, I love the glasses. I need them.
Pizza Hut sold these. You buy a large pizza in 1989 when the film came out. I think you got these for $1.99 or something.
Oh, wow. Cool. Didn't know that. Man, thank you so much for your time. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be the last time we have a nice chat. I'm pretty sure I'll see you again. And again, thank you so much. Wish you all the best with your projects, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much for having me on.
¡Wow! ¡Qué pedazo de charla! Me encantaría leer sus comentarios, a ver qué opinan. ¿Les gustó? ¿Creen que estuve flojo con las preguntas? Siempre digo lo mismo, pónganse en mi lugar. La verdad es que yo no soy un periodista, no soy un profesional entrenado para entrevistar gente. Voy con buena onda y con el carisma o fanatismo que puedo tener, porque realmente me estoy dando el gusto de sentarme a charlar con gente que tengo ganas de conocer, de hablar y de escuchar. Y como digo en la entrevista, realmente yo creo que vi más de 15 veces la saga completa. Jamás en mi vida pensé que iba a tener la oportunidad de sentarme a charlar con uno de los actores. Así que me siento infinitamente agradecido por haber tenido esta chance, un recuerdo que ya está acá atesorado en mi corazón. Y así como yo pasé un hermoso momento hablando con Jeffrey, espero que ustedes también lo hayan pasado viendo este video, porque son parte. Si estás viendo este video es porque sos parte de esta comunidad. Te agradezco por seguir mi trabajo. Si sos nuevo, te doy la bienvenida. Recordá que podés también sumarte a Instagram o a Facebook, que siempre interactuar está bueno. Desde ya le garantizo que esta no es la última vez que vamos a tener a Jeffrey. Ya tengo ahí unas cositas arregladas. Amigos míos, muchas gracias por estar, gracias por el aguante y nos vemos la próxima.